Hello and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, and today's topic is called Sky Lights. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening between November 13th and the 21st, 2020. And here's also an alternate cover slide. This comes in from Aesthetic Girl. Thank you, Aesthetic Girl. This is a gorgeous photo of a sunset in Miami looking west. And before we get going into getting to more sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobroenia, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, and guten dag. And this is just a little scene of some paddle boards alongside a canal in Miami, Florida. Now, as we get going into these sky observations, if you're new, welcome, and if you're returning, heartfelt thanks that you're back. I just want to make a point that when I talk about original photos and enhanced photos going forward, or enhancements, it simply means with the enhancement part that I'm just editing attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, contrast, things of that nature, or I might occasionally have a little masking block for privacy, hiding a license plate number or something of that nature. But that's it. So anyway, let's get into this. So this is a view looking west of a beautiful salmon-pink flash in the sky. Now what's interesting about this is that this is at sunset, and as this starts fading out, this salmon color starts ramping up to the south and to the northeast for some reason. So let's take a look at that. So here we go, strange salmon-pink glow in the sky. This is looking south, just shortly after that flash in the sky, just about the same time. Now what's interesting is on the left it's the original, on the right it's the enhancement, and the true color is somewhere in between. So to the naked eye, I've been looking at the sky intently for 2 years now, and the more you look, you start to pick up just to the naked eye a reddish or pinkish glow sometimes in the sky, and then of course with an enhancement it really draws it out. So I will say in person it was brighter than what you're seeing here, but not this vibrant, so somewhere in between. But that's looking to the south, and now we're going to look to the northeast. Now look at this, to the north and northeast. This was quite a significant reddish glow, even kind of in a ball-like form. So what is causing this? This is not coming from the west, because at this time, at the west side, that glow was already gone. That flash in the sky was gone, and this started picking up exponentially. So what is causing this is the question of the day. Is it something localized, or is it something, some kind of object just offshore, I'd like to say? If you look in the description box, there are a lot of theories of what could be causing some red in our skies today. But in this particular case, I do think it's just some type of otherworldly or cosmic light, or light generated for something, from something maybe we don't quite understand, maybe even something interdimensionally for all I know. But it did seem and feel a little more localized than something off on the horizon emanating the glow. All right, this is called Strange Cloud Formation Cloaking Craft. Now the upper right is the original, and I couldn't help but notice this just seemed like something swooped down, and that something being this triangular shaped object. I'm going to say, to me that looks like something being cloaked with something with such a pronounced triangular shape that doesn't occur in nature in the cloud forms. And so this is just, also just reminded me of a vapor trail or plasma trail, like, coming in. So see what you think that is. In the background, these seem to be somewhat cumulus in nature of clouds, but not really. So again, these even look a little artificial and strange. The scene was so strange, but I thought I would capture it and share it with you. All right, this is called Strange Sun and Cloud Assembly, and this is looking southwest, kind of pre-sunset. What caught my attention was just how blinding and glaring and kind of matted and muted out this whole sun in quotes is. I say sun in quotes because if you've seen some of my other shows, and if you haven't, please go take a look around. I do talk about the idea of the solar simulator or other solar tech up in the sky. I fully support that, and do look at other sky and earth observation channels out there on YouTube. There's a ton of people across the world documenting this with direct evidence, direct observation evidence. But it's just the notion that there is tech up in the sky that is veiling our view to the sun from the earth, and vice versa. The sun and the heat quality is totally different emanating off of the sun, and it suggests that there is either lens arrays or lamps or things of that nature, all kinds of film or other tech that we're not totally aware of that can be up in the sky that is definitely altering our sun these days. So if you've been on this planet for a few decades, as I have, more than that, you will know that the original sun that a lot of us are going to refer back to is a softer, warmer, golden glow, a yellow quality to it, not this glaring white and blinding sun. But anyway, enough of that. But around it also caught my attention of how strange we have all different cloud forms in juxtaposition to each other. So down here where my cursor is, we have roundish forms. Then we have these bar-like forms, bulbous bar-like forms. This kind of scattered, I like to call it staccato cloud. It's really choppy and seems fuzzy to the naked eye, out of focus. Just there's a lot going on in here. So we're going to look at this in the enhanced mode and look at this. So, you can definitely see now the curvilinear forms, bar-like forms. And then what really caught my attention on this enhancement, though, is this round form of what I call staccato cloud. And it looks like it has a trail. So it almost looks like this thing came zooming in somewhere from the cosmos and set up shop right here near the sun. And look at this trail, emanating behind it. Now, I don't know if that's plasma or water vapor or what. It's definitely, this overall system screams artificial, though. So have a look and see what you think is going on in that photo. Now here's another strange cloud assembly. This one's looking at sunrise to the east-southeast, and what caught my attention was just the odd overall formation of this. It's very discoidal-like, like a pointed ellipse. And then we have another pointed ellipse echoed down here. And that's just not natural cloud formation. But we'll look at it with some enhancement and just, pull out some little highlights of this thing. You would get some little bits and objects at the end that seem to have more substance, like they have material to them. And then we have some weird activity happening within. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but I'm suspecting that that's an overall cloaking craft assembly with another cloaking craft below and other things happening beyond that don't readily show up in the photo. All right, this is called Strange Cloud Assembly at sunrise, and it's also looking east-southeast at 7 a.m. And what started emerging was this strange triangular form. So we have a very strong bar-like shape here, and this is forming a triangle. Now, also what was strange is the way this kind of painted character, very flat two-dimensional character of this cloud, is appearing in the sky. So we're going to look at this with some enhancement. Now we look at 8.1. Now when I use A or 8.1, it's just marking an area of note. And when I go to 0.1 or 0.2, it just means we're either enhancing the photo or zooming in or both, just to get a better look and read on what's going on. So in this case, this bar holds true. It's got substance to it. We've got either reflection happening on a material like a metal or something ramped up here, it looks like. And then, there's really strange activity happening here as well. Now in the background, we look and we see this looks like a craft to me with a vapor trail or plasma trail behind it, zooming off to the right, but see what you think. We're going to look at the same scene, devoid of color this time. I sometimes take out color. It helps get the brain thinking and viewing things in a different way with a slightly different perspective sometimes, and just to see if different things pull out in the photo. In this case, it does. Have a look where my cursor is. That looks like a tube, like the end of a tube in here too. So is that exhaust on some type of craft? Is it air intake, fresh air intake? Is that like a port where it shoots out plasma or cloaking material? I don't know. I'm just posing those questions. See what you think. And as always, if you have any interesting ideas of what could be happening, or if you see something I missed in any of these photos, because sometimes there's just a lot going on, and if you want to see it in the future, just let me know in the comment section below, and I can isolate it and put some enhancement on it and bring it into a future show. Here we go. In the upper right is that little craft thing I was talking about with the vapor trail. And we look here where my cursor is. That seems like a very hard edge, so I am calling that some type of object. And when you hear me talking about cloaking craft, I'm talking it could be a 3D object with cloak on it. Could also be an interdimensional object, or something popping up in a way we don't understand. All right, this is again this triangular object where I have A. We're just panning over and looking at it in a slightly different way. And so let's put some enhancement on it. And up at A1, we just see it's just some weird stuff happening. 8.2, we're getting in, with a little more enhancement to see what's going on. I can't really pick out much. Again, we got the tubular portion speck here, but it's just interesting, and I thought I would at least present it to you. Maybe you see something happening. Oh, also where my cursor is, this looks also like cloaking craft, where we've got a hard object poking up out of plasma or cloaking material, whatever that is. All right, here's our same triangular object, just panning slightly more to the south. And then we notice also these other strange clouds happening next to it. So we're going to put some more enhancement on it. And this time, 8.4, we lose our little triangular object altogether. I put a lot of brightness and contrast on this. But what's interesting is what's happening in these quote-unquote clouds. So this looks like there's some type of object, something's popping out here with a hard edge with some dimension and shadow to it. So I think there's a cloaking craft going on in here. I don't know what's happening here too, something of interest. And down here too, it looks like there's a hard object tucked in the clouds. Now, is that just part of a bigger, triangular object, or is this whole thing something bigger? That's a good question. See what you think. All right, now we're talking in this photo, looking east toward the evening, toward 7 p.m. is Cloaking Craft. Now, if you've seen some of my other shows, I talk about this quite a bit. When I see a mass of color, either, like a sunset and it's all vibrant color, and then I just see a bright white point come out of it, or in this case, if it's all gray and muted and I see bright white, it really draws my attention. So in this case, we're going to look at it with some enhancement to see what's going on there. Also, there's some fuzzy weirdness going on in there, so I think something's cloaking back there beyond. And then here we have a shadow imprint of a triangle. Now, is that a craft cloaking? Is that some type of sensor or film type tech, advanced tech? Is it a portal? I have no idea. See what you think is going on there. But here we go to our 8.1. Now we have some enhancement, and we can see there's definitely a white object amidst color, and we've got a hard edge with some shadow to it. So we're going to look at it zoomed in with more contrast and enhancement on 8.2, and look at that. We've got an object that has like a dome-like character at the top and our profile, and then we've got something heading off symmetrically with points. So and that looks like a vapor trail or some type of plasma trail or who knows what. Some type of energy field, I'm not sure. But either way, to me that's undeniably some type of object in the sky of advanced character. Okay, now this is called Cloaking Craft. We look up at the original upper right is A. Now A, we've got a lot of movement coming down diagonally. We've got some strange cloud, uncharacteristic cloud activity jutting out. And we have some fuzzy, cloud characters. So we go to the enlargement below and we've got some enhancement on it. And look at this thing, hard edge coming down, kind of a bulbous tip. It almost looks like if you had an old-fashioned, old-school thermometer that you hang outside to tell the temperature. This would be where the mercury would collect and rise up. We also have, some fuzzy cloud activity. We've got these bars happening down at the same angle. So there's some kind of movement, coming rushing in is what I'm going to say. And I got to believe that this is Cloaking Craft. This too, maybe this is also other things hiding in here. Also, this overall shape looks like Cloaking Craft as well. See what you think. We're going to zoom in a little more on it, more enhancement, and there you just see an undeniable line coming down here with like a bulbous shape at the end. And then this gets interesting too, where my cursor is. And then going back up to the original, just look at that whole strange little shape, pointed ellipse, and texture in there. I think that's a different method of cloak. So anyway, see what you think. Oh, this one gets real interesting. This is called Cloaking Craft with lights. So this is in a different location looking west towards sunset. And there's going to be a whole series of these coming up. So what caught my attention at first was kind of this pointed elliptical shape, just looked like a strange cloud assembly. We've got this weird kind of stuff, but with structure to it, kind of, popping off over here. So I just watched it for a bit, took some photos. And the more I looked, I noticed this regular pattern of pinhole lights, I'm calling it. There's one here too. So, it just looked too regularized and too much on a radius to be a haphazard, break in the cloud, which we don't have any anywhere. Those are lights. So let's have a look with more enhancement down at 8.1. Again, they stay true in white, even though everything else has a cast of some type of color signature to it. We go up to 8.2 with more enhancement, and look again, these hold true in white. So I'm calling it. This is one overall craft with lights shining out. You can see the light, beam, coming out from these things. Then we're going to look at 8.3. It's a slightly different timing on this thing. It seems to be falling apart a little, but you still see these pinholes holding true in their spacing, in their formation. And there's other strange things happening down here below. A weird little shape here as well. We'll look at it with more contrast and enhancement, and once again, they hold their character and their spacing, and it looks like they're emanating light, pools of light coming out of these things. And you see the same thing happening here. These look like light, like their own lights, self-illuminating behind cloaking cloud cover. Then here's a slightly different view of it again. We have the moon, crescent moon shining. Then we have something looks like it's getting disturbed, so it looks like tufts of smoke and plasma or whatever generating around here, like there's movement. So we're going to take a look at that. We zoom in and look at this. So not only do we have lights holding true with some weird activity happening in there, but this weird little perfect object that looks like some type of craft. Puffs and smoke and stuff's getting flustered up in here with its own light system. So I do think that's also cloaking craft hiding in there. And look above. We've got what looks like a craft with plasma or vapor or whatever that cloud cover is coming off of it, and then something popping off even off the top of this. So I gotta say, this has to be one overall main or master craft, and then these are little subcraft or companion craft or scouting craft or sensors, who knows, with another, smaller, more portable craft and one above that. That's what I'm going to stick with. See what you think, though. This is called Strange Cloud Forms, an opaque object. This is looking east at sunrise. And what was interesting about this, I observed this scene for a while, is not only the obvious, very obvious triangular cloud form up here. It's a perfect triangle. There's also some weird thing popping off here. Looks like it could be interdimensional craft or something coming or going. But anyway, what was strange is that this object here where my cursor is, it's kind of like the end of an elliptical, pointed ellipse. But it stayed really steadfast and true and kept a very opaque shape, even though everything else around it was blowing along. I do believe this whole assembly has cloaking craft in it. But here we go with some enhancement. Again, we see that triangular form, whether that's a craft or sensor or whatever's going on in there, some other tech equipment. But look here, so this thing has a very hard edge, perfectly symmetrical. It's got some fluster of activity happening around it, like the cloaking material is being disturbed. So I do think that's a craft for sure. Now this is called Odd Clouds, Cloaking Craft, looking west toward sunset. And what captured my attention was the rusty orange kind of character of this cloud above, also the strange shape of it, the arc of it, other little strange things happening, but also the chaotic nature of this. So if this were just a normal cloud system blowing across the plain, so to speak, everything would be level and even, but here we've got stuff jutting out with its own motion and its own directions, while things are concurrently straight along with it. So that just makes no sense. What is some crazy rogue burst of air come pushing this down? That just doesn't happen. And keep in mind, this climate is subtropical tropical Florida, and on this particular day there was no wind. So there shouldn't be this kind of motion, and this is all very low in altitude. Keeping that in mind, what could be happening? So this starts to take on a very hard edge, might even have some self-luminosity, or it's reflecting off of something. But then we have this rounded shape, toward the back. So to me, that's screaming that it's some type of cloaking craft, as is this at letter A. Letter B, there's something happening in here too. And this looks like something is shooting out of here, so that could be the craft part with some vapor trail behind it. But let's look at this with some enhancement to see if any of this proves out. Also, D.1 also is a huge indicator that if this is here as a perfect triangle, then most definitely cloaking craft can be nearby, and that's a very logical conclusion to that. But anyway, also very suspect that this whole thing could be a pointed elliptical craft of some type. And again, D.1 seems more translucent in nature, like it could be interdimensional. Not exactly sure what that is, but I know it's high advanced tech. Also, we start to see the shape of this thing a little bit better. Looks like it has plasma cloaking material sweeping across the top, like this would be the deck of this thing. And again, we see now bright points of light popping up around this thing. This looks like it could be a trail of vapor or something behind it. But we'll zoom in and look in a little more detail. Again, I'm still seeing that very strong point coming out, like this is the upper deck of some type of craft and that's the back, or it could be vice versa, who knows. It almost looks like even an arc on top of this thing, some type of structure. And again, we pull out that bright white in front of this thing. To me, that looks like a burst of energy more than maybe a reflection of metal, but I'm not sure. See what you think. Then we're zooming in on that triangle, and I know this is overall a little bit fuzzy, but you see it still holds true. That's a triangle. Alright, this is called Strange Cloud and Cloaking Craft, looking west towards sunset on a different day. And look at this. So this is pretty far in the distance, so it's going to get a little grainy. My camera phone is pretty old, and it can only capture so much. But what's interesting here is we're going to look at A for obvious reasons. It's a standalone white shape when everything else is gray. There are little white bits here too. but it has like a dome in the middle and pointed ends at either end. And again, if you remember that earlier photo I showed you at was that at sunset, but looking east, we had a similar shape. It was much smaller though. So it's kind of funny that we're picking up the same shape again on a different day, looking in the different, in a different direction, a different horizon. So we're going to look at this with some contrast because more contrast and brightness enhancement. Because B, where I had that letter, we're going to look at B1. This is starting to look like a craft too, where these two prongs, that's a perfect line coming down with symmetrical prongs. I'm just going to call them our arms. And I don't know if this is the front of the craft or the back of the craft, but you start to see a shape in there. You also see a shape over here, and this looks like something's flying out off of this thing. Looks like a triangular shape. See what you think is going on in there. Then we're going to go back with more enhancement to look at our little white, I'll just call it a little white ship here. Again, we've got a long point, a dome, long point. Now this one's getting interrupted by some type of cloud or other object happening in front of it. So I have another view where it doesn't get interrupted, as you can see. And again, it's symmetrical, so we're going to have even another look at it too. B2 is that thing with the prongs. It's kind of hard to see, but you also see other strange activity happening in here. Now, here we go, 8.4, just another view of it with some more contrast and enhancements. And then A5 gets really interesting. So I remove the color and up to the contrast, and here we go. This is definitely some type of object, symmetrical with a dome on it, and I'm definitely calling that a cloaking craft. In this case, it's not really cloaking, it's a craft. All right, this is called Crystalline Geometry in Cloud. And here we have, it is as I titled it, we have a triangular shape here, triangular shape here, and who knows what else is hiding behind this, either cloaking material or cloud cover or whatever that's going on in there. We're going to look at it with some enhancement, and then you can clearly see the triangular forms. It's very interesting. Not sure what that is. All right, this is Strange Cloud Forms looking east on a different day. And look at this, these beautiful forms. They're very elegant, traveling in like 3. There was nothing else in the sky that looked like that. And in fact, you're going to see in the next photo, the quality and character of the clouds were completely different, looking in a different direction. So this was looking east. Again, bear in mind, this is subtropical to tropical Florida. No wind that day, really. These were in low atmosphere, low in the atmosphere. So really nothing causes clouds to look like that unless you're high altitude and cold air, drier air, but that was not the case here. So that did flag my attention. I do think that's cloaking craft traveling along. Because looking to the northeast, this is what we get, and that looks nothing like the clouds we just saw. So it's just panning around, more north. I'm sorry, this should say northwest. But anyway, look at this thing. It's when we look at A, that's the original. We go to 8.1, we see this chunky, thick cloud with this thing, hanging down below, and then this thing popping up off the back or the front, whatever that is. So we go to 8.2, and look at this. We've got a lot of like loose plasma or cloaking material, or vapor coming down off of this thing. But look, that's like a dome-like shape, and we got weird things, splaying off the top of this thing. And what's really curious is this has a sharp angle, and then this looks like an independent craft surrounded in a cloak plume popping up. So you see what you think about that one, though. All right, well, this is the photo of the week and the close of the show. This is a concrete duck in a park. So thank you for ducking in here a while and spending time here with me on the show. I wish you a gorgeous week ahead and even more beautiful right now and tremendous peace. Best wishes always, Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.